Cold, 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 cold. It's Monday morning, October 26, 2020. We're currently being hit by a cold snap, and all throughout the week the temperature is going to be in the 30s and down to the teens at night. So my gasoline heater is absolutely going to come into play this week. Right now I'm on public land on the southwestern edge of Colorado, near Cortez. I spent the night camped among these great rock formations not far off the blacktop at around 5,300 feet. And to the north of me are the canyons of the ancients, which is where we're going to do some exploring today. I did have a new minor issue with the Webasto gasoline heater that I needed to get sorted before I used it again. This short length of hose ran from a fixed location on my chassis down to the muffler and tailpipe. And the muffler and tailpipe are on rubber isolators. So when I drive down washboard roads or just bumpy roads in general, the muffler is bouncing all over the place. And over the course of the year, it just eventually fatigued this metal hose to the point where it broke apart. I've been in touch with OK 4-Wheel Drive about this issue, and in the weeks ahead they're going to re-engineer it so it doesn't happen again. But for the time being, I got a replacement hose that will serve the purpose at least through this cold snap. I stumbled upon this historic site with these really cool ancient ruins perched up atop a dry waterfall, and then there's a spring down there in the basin. A lot of old foundations built along the rim of this canyon right here. It might have been a small community, but it's a really impressive place to make a home. If there was ever a time that I wish I could go back and see a place in its prime, this is it. Some really interesting mossy formations underneath the dry waterfall by the natural spring. Those ruins were so cool, and there was no sign or information kiosk, so I'm gonna have to see what I can turn up on a Google search later. Now I'm back on the trail and heading east. It's 3 p.m. and today is going way too fast. I need to see about finding a place to set up for the night, preferably out of the wind. It's nice and sunny out, and it should be this way for the rest of the week, but it is also going to be unseasonably cold. this will do. A decent spot for the night in a golden canyon next to a small stream. It's still fairly windy down here, but I'm hoping that it will subside during the night. So cool. I was out photographing the trees around camp when I saw the stone structure in the distance, and then when I got to the stone structure, I saw the cliff dwelling in the distance. So of course, one thing led to another. But I am quickly losing daylight, and I have to get back to camp. There's no denying that my Webasto gasoline heater has been troublesome. I got maybe 200 hours of runtime out of it last winter before it was inundated with carbon buildup and rendered inoperable. However, when everything is in good working order, it is awesome. It sips fuel from my factory gas tank. If I leave it on through the night and then fire up the Jeep in the morning, I can't tell that the gas gauge has moved at all. And it dishes out a lot of heat for this small space. If I were to do it again, I'd get the same type of heater, Webasto, S-Bar, and get the diesel version. And then, I don't know how or where, but I'd fashion some kind of diesel supply. It would be just about the same in terms of efficiency and performance, but the diesel units are much more reliable. They burn more cleanly, and they're more forgiving at higher elevations. (14°F) in Cortez, Colorado on Tuesday morning at 7:30 a.m. Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, you have a great day.
You too. So I woke up in the canyon at 5,000 feet in altitude, and the temperature was 23°F according to my dashboard. Then I drove 15 miles east to Cortez up to 6,000 feet, and the temperature was 14°F. So elevation very much matters for personal comfort, especially during cold weather. 1,000 feet can make all the difference in the world. I'm off for a hike in Durango, Colorado. I'm in town because I'm just waiting for a package to be delivered, and it's not here yet, so I have some time to kill. Figure kick the day off with a hike, and then maybe grab some pizza for lunch. I found this hike on the AllTrails app, and it's a bit of a hiking and mountain biking network up here in the hills right close to town. I'm trying to navigate as I go that way. Alright, yeah, go for an easy hike. close to town. It'll be great. Yes! Behold the city of Durango, Colorado. Earlier this morning, I looked into a little bit of the history of Canyons of the Ancients on the western edge of Colorado, where I was yesterday. It's a national monument protecting an archaeological significant landscape. And this is from Wikipedia. It was occupied by the ancient Pueblo people between the 10th and 12th centuries. And there are at least 6,000 distinct structures that have been identified in the monument. And the density of the archaeological remains is the highest of any region in the United States. And that jives with my experience yesterday, because all of these structures that I found were purely by accident. So as always, if you visit Canyons of the Ancients, and you should, please don't disturb any structures or historical artifacts that you might see. This trail, man, it's not hard, but the slope. This is the trail, right? Yeah, it's a trail. Fantastic. This trail is rated as moderate on all trails, but this part right here is one of the sketchiest surfaces that I've ever hiked on. Not a fan. All right. It's 2:30 p.m. on Tuesday, and my business is done in Durango, Colorado. I got my mail, I got pizza, which was delicious. It was margarita pizza with pepperonis on it the size of manhole covers. I certainly wasn't finished exploring Canyons of the Ancients. I want to see more. So I'm heading my way back there, and since it's so late in the day, my main objective is just going to be find a good place to spend the night. And then tomorrow I'll do more wandering. Well, I was going to air down and head off the beaten path, but I suppose I should go back into Cortez and try to source a new gas cap. About 20 miles. Awesome. Oh my. I never lost a gas cap before. Now, it wouldn't be a big deal, except I have the Long Range America auxiliary gas tank, which replaces the factory filler neck and gas cap. So here's hoping that the aftermarket filler neck uses either the same cap as the Jeep Wrangler, or one that's very common. Alright, on my way back to town, I put in a call to Long Range America. They make the auxiliary gas tank that's in the Wrangler. And I asked, alright, what is the fuel cap they use on their filler? They said that a lot of different caps will work, but that I should try a gas cap for a 1998 Chevy Silverado 1500. I didn't get a cap for that particular application, but I did get one for a 2007 Chevy Silverado 2500, and it seems to work just fine. So Long Range America tank owners, if you lose your gas cap, there you go. Chevy Silverado. It's Tuesday night, and after I got the gas cap issue sorted, I didn't have time to explore. I ran out of daylight. As winter approaches, it's getting darker earlier and earlier, and in fact, I think daylight savings ends this weekend. Anyway, instead of exploring on my own, I turned to iOverlander to quickly and easily find a campsite for tonight. And it led me to here. I didn't get a chance to enjoy this spot tonight, but you'll see it tomorrow morning. It's a beautiful clifftop campsite. There's a couple other vehicles here, other campers enjoying the view and enduring the cold weather. Speaking of which, one thing I am not is cold. I know that I keep gushing about this, but I love my heater so much right now. It worked perfectly last night, and it's chugging away as we speak. It's so comfortable in here. And when I run the heater at night, I only sleep on this side of the camper. I leave this panel out so the warm air is allowed to permeate up. This material isn't insulated in any way, and it's very cold out, so the heater's working hard to keep the upstairs of the Jeep warm. But downstairs it's very warm, probably in the low 80s Fahrenheit, and it warms up the ceiling of the Jeep or the floor of the camper, and I can feel under the mattress. It feels very toasty. It's Wednesday morning, and I woke up to this phenomenal clifftop campsite that I didn't get to enjoy last night because I rolled in too late. This whole ridge, probably a quarter-mile in length, is lined with dispersed campsites, and each one features this amazing view of the mountains to the south. Daylight's wasting. I've got bean water in hand, so let's go exploring. Now, since Canyons of the Ancients is a conservation area, I want to make absolutely certain that I'm only exploring approved routes in the Jeep. Obviously, that's always the case no matter where I go, but this was only recently made a national monument back in the year 2000, so there are a lot of tracks that appear on Gaia GPS that have essentially been decommissioned. And these official signs are located at the entrances along most of the main roads, and they provide a definitive view of what tracks are approved and okay to explore and which ones are not. So I still use Gaia GPS for primary navigation, but when I see a sign like this, I use my cell phone to take a picture, and now I can compare as I'm driving to make sure that where I'm going jives with the official map. This road runs along another ridge, and there's even more spectacular clifftop campsites along the way, probably a half a dozen of them. relatively high elevation here at 7,000 feet, and with the cold snap I've been trying to stay off the mountaintops, but these spectacular views are hard to resist. That was quite a lovely four-wheel drive route that passed through the southeastern corner of the monument. It was roughly 13 miles by my GPS, and it was scenic and also surprisingly degraded at times. The one thing that bummed me out was I was hoping to encounter some historical sites along the way, and I didn't see any, unlike the other day. I'm sure they were back there, but they were not visible from the track, unfortunately. It's 3 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon, and instead of heading straight to camp, I wanted to take advantage of what remaining daylight I have and experience some of this amazing backcountry on foot. So I'm setting off on the Sand Canyon hike, which is on the southern edge of the monument, and just going in for a few miles because the sun's getting low in the sky and I do need to find camp before too long. This has been an extraordinary hike, but it is 4:45 p.m. and I'm over 2 miles in. I still have to go back to the Jeep. I hate to cut it short because not only is the historical significance interesting, it's just naturally beautiful. By the time I find a place to camp, I'm going to be just about out of daylight, so I better get going. Yes. I passed this site on the way out. This will do nicely. Good view, low elevation, 5,500 feet. We're happy. Thursday, October 29th, 2020, around midday. And a bit of a change of scenery today. I woke up this morning in Canyons of the Ancients, which, as you know, is more of a high desert landscape. I drove 50 miles back east to Durango, Colorado, and I'm now in the San Juan Mountains. It's a beautiful day in a wooded mountain setting. There are aspen trees, which have all shed their leaves by now. I came to Durango for a reason, to use as a base to edit and publish this week's episode, but not before I do a little bit of exploring. As of this week, there's a bit more of a method to my movement. Last week, when I was in Moab, I made an appointment for the Jeep to be serviced at OK Four-Wheel Drive in New Jersey in the weeks ahead. So while my trajectory was to the southwest, that's why I abruptly turned east into Colorado this week. First and foremost, I'm excited to spend time with my family and especially my son Cole back in Pennsylvania. Cole's a senior in high school, he's got his driver's license, his own car, and it has been far too long since we got together. OK Four-Wheel Drive is going to go over the Jeep and fix any wear and tear issues that need to be sorted. Also, probably take a look at the heater to see if there's anything that can be done to improve that. I want them to take a look at a couple check engine lights that manifests every now and then, and maybe consider any other upgrades or refinements. I'm not expecting anything major because I think that RNG is dialed in really well as is. I do want to switch to the pneumatic sway bar disconnect system, but I have one more factory actuator in my storage unit, So when I get back to PA, I'm going to pop that in and use it until it expires. At that point, I'll upgrade. So that's the general plan for the weeks ahead. I hope you all enjoyed this week's episode in the Canyons of the Ancients and the San Juan Mountains in Durango, Colorado. As always, thanks for following along, and I will catch up with you again next week.